One.
We're so glad to come your way again. It's another good, nice Saturday morning, and wherever you are, we would want you to go out there and share the feed. Let family and friends know that it's time for the Evan. And if you think this is share worthy, as usual, just go out there and let um, others be partakers. So let me do that right away and then okay, yeah. So we're back to base and we're excited to come your way again. It's almost Father's Day, so just for those who need to know, get ready to wish your spouses a happy Father's Day. Okay, so
Did you say spouses?
yeah, I mean, just using Priss's principle, right? Yeah, wish your spouses a happy Father's Day. Okay, so when you join us, let us know. Share hello, a hi, and then we would bring you on board, and then we get more interactive. Okay, so today's topic is pretty simple. There are a lot of things we learn from our forefathers, right? I mean, it's wise to look at those who have gone ahead of you, take a cue from them, from their lives, from I mean, however they live their lives. And if it is positive, then you know exactly what you should be doing. If it is negative, you know exactly what you don't want to be doing, right? And so on Thursday, we had to do some cleaning around the house. So I mean, we were weeding, mowing the lawn, blah blah blah, and I had all the kids helping out, right? And as we were doing it, I go like, oh, I think it's easier with the kids helping out. I mean, otherwise, I would have to do everything alone. Then it occurred to me that that was why our forefathers gave birth to a lot of children to help them on the farms, right? I mean, it was a clear lesson. Now, but there is this lesson that some parents tend to pass on to their children, which has never made sense to me. It's this principle of okay, so if they have girls or ladies who are going into marriage, I mean, there is always, I don't know if it is specific to a particular group of people or like it's a generic thing that goes on out there, but it's more like ladies are expected to, I mean, be married to their husbands, but when it comes to money, it looks like ladies are expected to keep to themselves, right? But as I mean, from the traditional roles we have, men have to do the heavy lifting and all in terms of taking care of the family and all, and ladies are sort of expected to, well, yeah, just be in the background. And so I am sometimes quite amazed when I hear people go like, "Oh, um, am I supposed to share my salary with my husband? Does my husband need to know my salary? Does my and so on and so forth?" The reason it baffles me is in the foundational principle of marriage. I mean, two people say they are together, they're going to live together, be open to each other. Like, so let's go to the basics. God realized that it wasn't good for man to be alone and said that he was going to make man a helpmeet, right? So, I mean, in the basic understanding or definition of the word, it's someone who is coming to support with, in this case, her resources and or her whatever,
What's to
right?
come with 10 fingers?
Yeah, exactly. So then it gets pretty challenging when it's more like, okay, anything the lady earns is for her and maybe her extended family or previous family. Like there is, and I've said this before. There is a saying in a particular tribe that when you go into marriage and things are well, bring it home. When you go and things are not well, keep it there. You get what I mean? Prissy, what do you think is the main reason why people would want to give such advice to their daughters? I mean,
Well, I don't know, but I believe it's also because of how traditionally women have been trained.
okay,
Um, so in the past, women were not they were not being educated. They
right,
were more like they taking care of their home, taking
yeah,
care of their kids. So they were not expected to contribute
right,
financially to the home.
right,
And so I think that based off that, it has become like, okay, then it is not the role of the woman to contribute money towards the home, which is wrong because now we are both educated and we work, both male and female. So that is also supposed to be our contribution. So if it is work we do and we earn an income, we have to contribute our income towards the home. And some of us have house helps who have taken over our roles in caring for the home and all that. So we have to still contribute in other ways towards the home.
okay. It's good you also give the background. So it's because we came from a place where, like, ladies were traditionally not expected to like work, right? But just support the home, helping bringing up the kids and all. And so traditionally they were not expected, obviously, to make financial contributions to the home. But again, like you rightly said, now that things are changing, then we should find a way to detach ourselves from that mindset. You mentioned something, but now we are educated. Why do you think that part is left out of education? You get what I mean? I mean, you would assume that people having all the education, both formal and informal, right, should be able to be at a certain level of thinking. You get what I mean? I don't think someone even needs to be told this before understanding that, hey, looking at the current times, looking at the current um, the dynamics of the world we live in now, you shouldn't um, just take a position where like you are detached from anything finances and say that, hey, but you are the man, go ahead and sort it out. I personally know of women who would only use their money, which is also quite funny, for their personal care, everything about them. But I mean, they stay away from anything relating to the family at large. So, don't you think that with all the education and all that we say we are getting, we should also reason to that point and know that, hey, this was because of what was happening in the future, and we need to start thinking in a different light. What do you think?
Yeah, I believe that since we went to the Beijing conference and realized that we are equal to men, it seems that most of the other things that we feel that men can do, we can also do and do better. We
Hmm.
do it better, but when it comes to contributing in the home, we do not. But I also feel that it is also because of the mindset that men are generally polygamous. And so a lot of women are not willing to contribute to a home and then have somebody else come to enjoy later. So I believe that is also one reason why some women hold back if they have to contribute So like they don't want to they feel like when I contribute at home,
Okay.
my man will have more than enough to go and spend outside on other women. So
Okay.
I think that is also what is deterring other women from making their contribution.
Okay. So that's a good point. So if a woman feels that men are polygamous, why get married in the first place? You get what I mean? So at the point where you were saying your vows and everything, you have in mind that, oh, this is just for the public view or something, and this is really not, you're really not going to be the only spouse that person would have. You get it?
You the only spouse, but the man could go out and have concubines.
But
So
women do that also, right?
yeah,
So
but
so
it's not as
so
common as men.
okay. So okay. Now, given that we believe that perfect love casts away all fears, right? So if someone is going into marriage, you have a child going into marriage, do you think it is right to sow that seed into the person's head that, hey, you might want to be protective of what you have because men could end up, I mean, going for someone else? Do you think this is the right seed to sow into
So
your?
I will not blame the person sowing the seed necessarily, because usually they give advice based off their experience.
Correct.
So if I'm taking an advice from somebody who has a very faithful husband, that
Hmm.
person would tell me that, look here, support your man, go
Right.
with him, do blah blah blah. But then if the advice is coming from somebody who has been gone through a lot in
Yeah.
the hands of a man, that person will tell me that, okay, you have to be vigilant. Don't just give your money off. Don't suffer with a man when you have even properties. Don't add your husband's name to your land you are buying. Sometimes there are things like that. Make sure you
Yeah.
just do that in your name only. And so it depends on who you are taking the advice from
Right.
and the experiences the person has gone through.
Right. Right. And again, this don't add your spouse's name to land, blah blah blah, or house, blah blah blah. It, it's pretty funny, but that is also the reason why a lot of men would not necessarily go out there and put the names of their wives on properties and all that, right? But it looks to me like, and like you earlier mentioned, it depends on who you are listening to, right? Because if you are going into marriage and this is the kind of advice you receive, there is no way your mind will be at rest to really live it out. You get what I mean? Because e- e- everything will seem like a potential crime scene that needs to be investigated. You keep having it, and it's good to be like, to have your eyes wide open, right? But it also makes you very paranoid.
Yeah.
I mean, with every single step of your spouse, then you go like, oh, um, this
These
might be a
are
potential.
signs of what I was told.
Exactly. This was exactly what I was told, right? So, um, in trying to have a good balance, right? Like you mentioned, it might be because the person giving you the advice also got involved in something similar and so wouldn't want you to get there. What then should we listen to if we getting ready to get married and all? What is your advice? Like, how shouldn't we listen to, because if someone has gone through an experience, maybe that's the best person to listen to, right? So if the person comes to tell you that, hey, be careful of men, or if you're married, hey, be careful of women, then how on earth are you going to really have an open mind and an open heart to be in your marriage? It's quite confusing to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I now it comes back to, and sometimes you can't tell, right? No one goes into the institution thinking that, oh, I'll make a mess out of this institution. I mean, maybe some people do, but generally people go into marriage with a positive outlook, right? Like that thing to work out and all. But I really think that what contributes to things going south is all these snippets or nuggets of negative advice that sometimes goes into people's head. You get what I mean? If someone tells me that, okay, if I didn't know anything about marriage and someone told me that, hey, um, ladies are like this. If a lady is trying to do this, divorce the person. That is the foundation I'm going to build my marriage upon, because that's what I know. You get what I mean? I mean, that's what will form my thoughts. That's what would inform my actions, right? And so I would really think that on this your advice thing, I would really say that, listen, if you are going into marriage and you receive advice from different quarters, different experiences, blah blah blah, it's fine. Hear them out. That's fine. But you will do yourself more harm than good if those form the basis of your marriage. Like, give people a chance to prove that they are not part of the general, I mean, thinking out there, or the general um, populace, or what everyone knows, right? I mean, if because all of us have people in our families who have had bad marriages. And so, if your marriage is going to be based on that, then you would continuously be suspicious of people, of your spouse, or blah blah blah, and you would always be watching stuff and analyzing stuff because, hey, is it exactly what the person told me that's manifesting, and so on and so forth. So see, I I really think that people should allow people to prove themselves out. You get it? Like, you would be a very big, no, let me tone down. You would be quite unwise, okay, to go into marriage with the thinking that, oh, all men cheat. That's that's one of the unwisest things you could build your marriage on. Or all women are not faithful, or all women are promiscuous, or all. Stay away from those general comments. Allow people to prove themselves, right? And so, if you going back to what the original topic was, if you're going into marriage and for some reason your spouse loses his job, and you go like, oh, but if I go support him and later he gets back on his feet, he might have more than enough to go chase women, or something. I mean, how on earth would you be thinking like this? And I'm not saying that everyone lives right and does things expected of them, right? But the worst you can do is not allowing people to prove themselves. You get what I mean? To prove themselves. It's so saddening to be put in a huge bucket with everyone else in a general statement that all men are A or all women are B, right? Doesn't make sense. And also, consciously decide to listen to positive things. Okay? And I would go shortly to this scripture. But Carrie says that unfortunately, people have negative perceptions and tend to prepare themselves to engage in that because everyone does that according to them. It's so difficult. Bible admonishes us that if there be any good reports, if there be any praise, we should focus on these things. If you decide to focus on negative stuff, you'd see that your whole life is twisted in a certain direction or aligned in a certain direction. Because even if someone is doing something good for you, you are looking at what could be the bad motive for that.
Yeah.
We should focus on the positives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so okay, Eddie is asking what is the topic of discussion, please. So Eddie, basically we're trying to look at all the nice things that the older generation tell the younger generation when they're about to marry. And today we're focusing on, oh, if you're a lady and you go into marriage and you earn some money, it is for you. Don't go support your spouse with your money, because then you have more than enough and you'll be fed with bad ideas to go after ladies and all, right? And so the saddest thing for a man, I mean, if I am a man, I'm married to someone, and we don't have the unity of thought. And I know that as I am thinking of trying to pursue something, my wife is also thinking of, oh, how can I keep my money to myself as my family has advised? I don't know how I would have the clarity to do a lot of things, right? Because there are times where, like, and I've mentioned this before, like I would be doing my usual stuff, chasing projects here and there, doing things, and I wouldn't have money necessarily for all the domestic things, and Prissy would jump in. It's like it, just by default, right? It would be so sad when I would go out there trying to build something for the family, and the person who is supposed to be my helpmeet is saying that, hey, my parents say I shouldn't use my money to support my husband, or in from where I come from, we don't do anything to support our spouses, blah blah blah, right? It would be, in fact, that is the more reason why I would start thinking about myself and forget about everything else. Because if your parents think that you shouldn't be supporting your spouse, why should my parent not think that I should also live out my life independently, right? These are things that unfortunately do not augur well for the institution of marriage. Yes, people have their bad experiences. You can learn from them, but that shouldn't necessarily form the foundation of your relationships. It shouldn't form the foundation of your marriage. One
I
day,
also
oh yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I want to also push in this. So
Mhm.
there are some men who also do not make the women feel like they are part of the marriage. It's like they have a trophy wife.
Yeah.
And so they are married to women, but the women have no say in the marriage. Even if they have to bring maybe external relatives home, they will
Yeah.
not even talk it over with their spouses. It's like,
Right.
I own you, or
Yeah.
something. And
Yeah.
so the women also don't feel like they are part of the marriage because
Right.
their husbands have made them so. So if
Right.
I have a spouse like that who probably also has bought properties and does not acknowledge that I am part of him
Yeah.
and doesn't add my name to the properties and all that, then I would also feel that, okay, when I'm also earning, I should
Mhm.
also treat my spouse the way he's treating me. You get it? So
Exactly.
I that's
Yeah.
the husbands to the men too. sometimes it's just a reaction from the way they treat their spouses.
Absolutely, it's a two-way street, right? If you okay, so let's say that you have a spouse as well who is trying to support you here and there, and by God's grace you get to get a property or something, land or anything, and it doesn't occur to you to have your spouse as part of that. Of course, then you are pushing the lady or your wife to start thinking of, hey, you also need to do something for yourself, right? And this is very common. You would have women who are building without their husbands knowing. Because all in the name of, hey, you have to protect yourself. That in itself is very toxic. And again, we are not claiming to know all the dynamics or to know everything, right? But in a very open, in a very good marriage, in a marriage where there is a lot of flow of communication, how on earth would you? Because a lot goes into building a house, right? And so if you can master courage to build a whole house without your spouse knowing, then you are a superwoman. You can participate in the Ukraine Russia war. Okay, so yeah, right, exactly, yeah. So Eddie says that it is prudent, like you mentioned, not to generalize things, especially negative stuff. Exactly. And then Eddie says again that I think we tend to trivialize the truth that the Bible says the two shall be one. Absolutely. If we believe that the two shall be one, then I guess no one will want to eat and not expect the body to be nourished. When both partners believe in the marriage and see each other as teammates, then they will share with open hearts. Absolutely. And that's why we always have to go to the foundation, the roots, the basics of the whole institution. That's why I mean, sometimes it's very difficult for me to wrap my mind around the fact that people would say, oh, I will live with you, I'll give my all for you, I would open up my heart to you, but not money. Oh, I can do everything for you, I'll give my whole life to you, but not so. There is something more important than your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So Edna, thanks for sharing that. The two shall be one means that the two of you would have that unity of thought, will have that single sense of direction, and whatever A is doing, it should be assumed that B will be there as well, right? Because otherwise, how are you able to manage this? And so we would wrap up with this, that hey, if there is any parent listening, if and very soon we are also going to be those old fathers and old mothers and would want to be protective of our children and everything. As we always keep saying, no two relationships are the same. The dynamics of some messed up marriage somewhere might not necessarily be what your child would be experiencing, right? And so don't necessarily spoil the foundation of your children's marriages by importing all your negative experiences and downloading them to them, right? And so unfortunately 30 minutes is already up. Prissy, you have something to say before we go?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so we would definitely continue this next week, right? But as being someone who wants to get married, as being someone who wants to get into the institution, also guide your heart. Listen to the right things, think on the right things. Don't let your life be full of people's negative experiences, and that is one key reason why we have this DFN program to let people actually know the reality and not necessarily just always have negative stuff running through their minds about marriage, right? And so listen to the right things, feed yourself with the right things, and then yeah, you should be bearing the right fruits. Okay, so without wasting my time, thanks so much for joining us on today's episode of Dear Man. We appreciate that you joined us, and we're always happy to have you. So make a date with us again next week for yet another episode. And always remember that no two relationships are the same. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.